The air you are breathing right now shouldn't be here. Most people believe Earth's atmosphere is permanent, that it is anchored to the planet by gravity alone. It isn't. It is held in place, barely, by something invisible. And there was a time when that protection almost failed. If it had, Earth would not look like this anymore. We know this because it has already happened to another world. Mars was not always a frozen desert. Billions of years ago, Mars had rivers carved into its surface, valleys shaped by flowing water, minerals that only form when water sits for long periods of time. Orbiters have mapped ancient river deltas. Rovers have found clays and salts that require stable lakes to exist. For a long time, Mars looked less like a dead planet and more like a younger version of Earth. Then, the lights went out. The water didn't freeze overnight. It didn't vanish in a single catastrophe. It escaped. Mars didn't lose its water first. It lost its shield. Deep inside a planet, motion matters. On Earth, molten iron and nickel churn constantly inside the core. Imagine a ball of liquid metal, larger than the moon and hotter than the surface of the sun, constantly moving, never at rest. That movement generates a magnetic field, a vast, invisible structure extending tens of thousands of kilometers into space. This is the engine of our survival. It deflects the sun's radiation. It pushes solar storms aside. It forces the solar wind to flow around us, like water around the bow of a ship. Mars is smaller. Its interior cooled faster. As the core cooled, motion slowed. As motion slowed, the magnetic field weakened. And when it collapsed, Mars was exposed. But Earth is not immune to this cooling. It is just slower. Right now, the inner core of our planet is growing. As the Earth leaks heat into space, the molten iron deep inside solidifies. Year by year, the solid center gets larger. The liquid outer core, the engine that generates our shield, gets smaller. This is a one-way process, entropy. Eventually, far in the future, the entire core will freeze solid. The motion will stop. The dynamo will fail. And when that happens, the shield will vanish forever. Mars died because it was small. It cooled too fast. Earth is larger, so we have bought more time. But we haven't bought infinite time. The clock is ticking for us too. For decades, scientists believed Earth was safe simply because it was big. But Earth has a vulnerability Mars never had to deal with: complexity. Earth's magnetic field is not stable. It never has been. It drifts, it weakens, and sometimes it flips. Throughout Earth's history, the magnetic poles have reversed hundreds of times. North becomes south, south becomes north. These reversals are not instant. They unfold over thousands of years. During that time, the magnetic field does not simply rotate, it fractures. Instead of one strong global shield, Earth develops multiple weak patches, chaotic poles appearing in unexpected places. At the peak of a reversal, the field can drop to less than 10% of its normal strength. For thousands of years, the door is left open. This is not just a geological theory, it is recorded in living systems. We know exactly when the last major collapse occurred, 42,000 years ago, an event known as the Lachamp excursion. For a brief window, Earth's magnetic field didn't just weaken, it collapsed to nearly 4% of its normal strength. The consequences were global. The proof was not found in stone alone, but in wood. Ancient kauri trees in New Zealand, preserved in bogs for tens of thousands of years, recorded a massive spike in atmospheric carbon-14 at this exact moment. Their rings show a surge in radiation entering the atmosphere. The ozone layer thinned, electrical storms intensified. Auroras were no longer confined to the poles. They were visible across much of the planet. The sky glowed red. Some researchers suggest this period may have driven early humans and Neanderthals into caves, seeking shelter from increased ultraviolet radiation. Cave art from this era increases sharply. Red ochre handprints pressed against stone walls, not decoration, presence. Markers left by beings hiding from a sky that had turned hostile. Many large megafauna species vanished during this same window. Because when the shield weakens, survival becomes selective. But the atmosphere is not the only thing tied to the magnetic field. Life itself is tuned to it. Many animals possess an internal compass. Whales, sea turtles, bees, migrating birds. Tiny crystals of magnetite embedded in their nervous systems allow them to sense direction. They feel north. They navigate thousands of kilometers of open ocean using an invisible guide. A biological map evolved over millions of years. When the magnetic field drifts or weakens, that map becomes distorted. We see the consequences today. Pods of whales beaching themselves, birds losing migration routes, insects failing to return. Magnetic anomalies confuse life in ways we are only beginning to understand. If the field were to collapse or flip for an extended period, the damage would not be limited to technology. It would ripple through ecosystems. Navigation would fail. Pollination patterns would break. Entire food chains would destabilize. Life on Earth assumes one thing, that north stays north. But the greatest danger is not confusion. It is erosion, and the evidence for that is locked in stone. Deep in ancient rock layers, scientists have found chemical fingerprints that should not exist. Isotopes left behind when lighter atoms escape more easily than heavier ones. Scars created by cosmic rays that penetrated far deeper into the atmosphere than they should have been able to. They found signatures showing that hydrogen, the lightest element in water, was being stripped away. The same process that killed Mars had started here. The atmosphere did not collapse. It began to leak, slowly, quietly. Had the field remained weak for just a little longer, or had the sun been slightly more violent, the leak would have accelerated, oceans would have evaporated, water molecules would have split apart, hydrogen would have escaped into space forever, Earth would have dried from the top down. Why didn't it happen? That is the unsettling part. It wasn't because Earth is special, it was timing. The core stabilized just in time. The magnetic field strengthened. The sun entered a calmer phase. The loss slowed. Then it stopped. Earth survived not because it was protected, but because the moment passed. Once. But luck runs out. Today, Earth's magnetic field is weakening again. Measurements show it has lost nearly 9% of its strength over the last 200 years. The decline is uneven. There is a region above the South Atlantic where the field is already significantly weaker. Satellites passing through this area fail more often. Instruments glitch. Radiation penetrates deeper. This is not ancient history. It is happening now. Modern civilization depends on fragile systems. Satellites, GPS, power grids, global communication. All of them rely on the same invisible shield that once nearly failed. In 1859, a massive solar storm struck Earth. The Carrington event. Telegraph wires sparked and caught fire. Operators received electric shocks. Auroras lit the skies as far south as the Caribbean. The magnetic field held barely. At the time, the world ran on steam and paper. Today, it runs on electricity. If a storm of that magnitude struck during a prolonged magnetic collapse, the consequences would not be dramatic. They would be quiet. Induced currents would overload transformers. Power grids would fail. Satellites would go dark. Some of the largest transformers on Earth take years to replace. We wouldn't lose the internet for days. We would lose it for years. Banking systems would stop. Navigation would fail. Supply chains would fracture. Civilization would not end, but it would pause. Earth did not survive because it was protected. It survived because the timing was right, once. The sky above you is not a guarantee. It is a temporary gift, held in place by a shield that once almost failed. This is Mynthera, where reality is more fragile than we are taught to believe.